Finally, it's here. After traveling over 2,000 kilometers, this 1918 Ford has made its way home. It's been quite a journey, but the real adventure begins now. The first thing we need to do is give this old beauty a proper checkup. This car is equipped with a 4-cylinder inline gasoline engine, which at the time was considered quite advanced. But today it's more about nostalgia and the experience of handling something that's over a century old. Let's get started by working on the ignition system. The first thing we'll do is dismantle it. This ignition system has a very unique design, and we'll need to carefully remove any accumulated dust and dirt from the engine. If we damage the ignition system, we'll be in big trouble, so extra care is needed. The spark plugs are covered in thick carbon buildup, which is typical for a car of this age. To avoid damaging anything, I've wrapped soft cloth around the pliers to handle the parts gently. After cleaning everything, we'll add some oil to the ignition system to ensure it fires properly. At this point, the engine is turning smoothly, so we're on the right track. Now let's move on to the battery. It's tucked away in a hidden compartment, which took me a while to find. Once we get to it, we make sure to securely connect the positive and negative terminals to prevent any loose connections that could stop the car from starting. We've got a freshly charged battery in place, so let's give it a try and see if it turns over. This is the moment of truth. Unlike modern cars with a one-touch start, this old Ford requires a little more effort. There's no push-button start here. Instead, we have to use our foot to manually crank the engine. It's a bit unusual, but once the engine roars to life, it's all worth it. The sound of that engine firing up is like music to the ears. Everything seems to be working perfectly, but before we get too excited, let's check the spark. The spark looks strong, and the ignition is firing without a hitch. I had to order some of the parts online, and while it took a little while to get everything, the quality of the parts is solid and they seem to be working just fine. One of the bigger challenges with this car is the ignition wires. They were so old and worn out that I had to wait over a month for the replacement parts to arrive. But now that everything is cleaned up and reassembled, we're ready to see if the car will start up again. The process is more hands-on than anything you'd experience with a modern vehicle, but that's part of the fun. Driving a car from 1918 is an entirely different experience. The steering is a little more rigid and the controls are all manual. The gear lever, the clutch, and even the horn are all operated by hand. The throttle is placed in a completely different location than today's cars, and you have to learn to coordinate your hands and feet carefully. It takes a bit of practice, but when everything clicks, you realize just how special this car really is. This car is not just a piece of machinery, it's a glimpse into the past, a reminder of how far we've come in automotive technology. There's something about the wooden wheels and roof, the vintage headlights, and the emblem that makes this car feel like a time capsule. The logo doesn't just serve as a decorative element, it actually functions as a thermometer to measure the engine's water temperature. Now that the car is running, let's take it for a spin. The driving experience is very different from what we're used to with modern cars. The way the gear lever operates, the use of a manual horn, and the precise coordination needed to control the throttle, it all feels like a real challenge. But that's what makes it so rewarding. Every time I drive it, I can't help but feel a sense of pride in bringing this old beauty back to life. After a successful run, I'll take it to my little garage for the night. Tomorrow we'll dive deeper into restoring it. But for now, it's enough to know that this century-old car still runs like a dream. It's a living piece of history, and I'm lucky to be able to experience it. That's it for today. Stay tuned for more updates.